out, because about to say is we already see the bans coming through. Lee Sin taking off. Junja, big niddly player, really likes trying to go for that more carry-orientated style where he's allowed to, even things like the Lilia as well, kind of in his wheelhouse.
You can always imagine there, Junja kind of going, do we have to ban Lee Sin? They're like, yes, we have to ban Lee Sin. Can I have it? No, we're not first picking it. Yeah, can I pet that dog? Exactly. Can I have that champion? No, unfortunately not. But the Rel, again, still very, very powerful. Something that as well we kind of saw the other day is what something like the Renekton kind of went through one game and then was not allowed after the fact as well. Poppy gets taken away here, and a lot of those facilitating early ganking junglers just taken off the board.
Yeah, Senna gone as well. Senna has definitely risen up in priority, and you can see it paired with a lot of things like the Tam Kench as well, coming back into that mix, but opens up a lot in that bottom side as well to try and be just such a nuisance and such a difficulty to pair it or to deal with in that laning stage. On the upside, there, Akali taken away. So I think you're kind of looking at things like the Talia, we saw a lot of priority on. Ori Azir, probably going to be high priority. But even some things that we saw banned away yesterday, like the Jarvan becoming very, very strong because of Spirit Shojin. And with the amount of jungle bans we're seeing, that could definitely be something that was looked at early here. But I think Azir, Ori, probably going to be the higher priority.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the Vi kind of still being there. Look, at the end of the day, no matter what way the jungle kind of changes, Vi is still very viable because she's just point and click CC. C champion, pick champion, kill champion. But now that we come into this one, PSG will have that first priority, and they might be, yeah, exactly as you said, the Jarvan having huge priority just given the amount that have been taken off the board. Yeah,
it must be a case of, hey, look, we're kind of happy to pick whatever's on the opposite side of that matchup. Like, we can go for the Ori, we can go for the Azir. Ezreal, also another 80 carry pick that's been very, very high priority in that bot lane. Very safe, great scaling, and the opportunity then for your support to start to roam around the map is going to be massive as well, especially if you've got that aggressive Jarvan on the opposite side.
Yeah, that's locked in as well. I love the Ezreal here as well, because actually the Jarvan kind of, it's almost like a game of chess really. It's like, we got the Jarvan, that means the Xayah isn't as viable. You're going to have to look for something different because, you know, there's sometimes Z-axis in League of Legends, but it doesn't work with Cataclysm, unfortunately. But that's not going to be picked, so we got the Ezreal locked in already. I feel like, yeah, I was going to say the Renekton is such an easy pickup right now. It could be blinded into so many matchups.
Yeah, 100% win rate for Bong as well, and a 4.8 KDA for him. So he's been very, very strong in this pick. And you heard the Desk talk about it. Bong in isolation is terrifying, but Ozzy is no pushover either. So I'm actually really excited to see what this matchup is going to be in that top side. But maybe a Jax pick going to be coming through if it makes it through that second rotation. But at the moment, I think it is going to be 80 carry locked in here. Xayah is a good option, plenty of peel. And then I imagine going to be that mid lane role picked up here as well. But looks like maybe they're looking at the Rakan instead. Yeah, just going to solidify that bot lane instead.
Okay, interesting enough. PSG kind of happy with whatever goes into that top lane matchup against the Renekton and willing to let those bans come in. So we do expect things like the Cassante and the Jax to be banned away.
Yeah, I imagine so. On the upside here, though, I'm curious to see what Miro wants to go for, because Miro has definitely been someone that you kind of heard him on the desk, a little bit back and forth on how impactful he can be. Has looked spectacular and things like the Ahri. We'll have to see what he can do now on this Talia. Got a lot of setup for him though, like at least at the moment you've already got the Renekton. You imagine you're probably going to get some sort of CC coming through from your jungler as well. So these flip backs and even the opportunity just like deny the Rakan engage, deny the Jarvan engage is going to be crucial for Miru in this one.
And I love it as well because it's a little bit of a flex as well, like technically as well. It can go to Audi into the jungle, so yes, we do expect it to go into that mid lane, but you do have that kind of flavor for you. And honestly, going into the next kind of things, you said Orianna was completely broken. R7 recognize that now and go, cool, let's ban it away, take it off the table.
Yeah, I think it'll be the Azir maybe coming through as well, so it looks like they're not as worried about Ozzy in that top side, but I think at this stage, yeah, just try and solidify a strong matchup in the mid lane, because there's very little things that can actually deal with the amount of push that Talia has, and that can open up a lot of opportunities then for Audi to try and control Junji in a lot of respects, because I think that's where the most terrifying matchup is. You heard Goldberg talk about it on the desk as well. Like, Junji is very good at dictating the pace of the early game, getting PSG talent set up so they can play for those late game fights, and I think that's where if Audi can at least find that bit of wiggle room in the jungle matchup with pushing lanes, he can have a chance.
Have a chance. The Jax, as you mentioned earlier, will get banned away, so we'll not have a Jax into an action matchup. Might just be the Cassante in that top side. We'll have to wait and see. But again, kind of putting in all these jungle bans. So many jungle bans, 6 in total. Technically 7 because the Irel can still be flexing to that. So really, really going to see if Audi has, you know, kind of is he going to go for Talia or if he's got something else in his pocket.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get any of those funny picks that we're seeing on the screen. But I mean, look, the buy's gone was one for him as well. Viego was his other most, like third most played when you look at the stage 1, and the Maokai gone. So looks like he is going to be trying to play a little bit of that carry-orientated style, which traditionally is not kind of what we see from him. It has been more, as you say, the tank focus. So with the setup you have from Talia, that's a pretty strong mid jungle, but you have to be so careful because Jarvan can interrupt that incredibly well. I'm curious to see what Maple actually decides to go for here. I think Azir, Nico, both these could work out very, very well in just providing great team fight, which is kind of where PSG like to sit.
That's the thing as well. Like, you look at the composition from R7 right now, like outside of kind of like, you know, in terms of their carries, they're just kind of poking you down, making sure your health bars are down about 2/3, 50%. Then they go for the engage with maybe a flanking Renekton and a Viego coming in from the side. But if you just have this kind of Venn diagram of death with the Rakan, the Cataclysm, of course, the Pop Blossom, you're going to have an awful lot to kind of throw back at that. And let's just add even more circles to the matchup if you're going to lock in this Kennen as well.
Yeah, and Kennen did get some really nice buffs on this patch as well, coming into 13-19. So I think he's in a really strong spot. I think we're going to see him more and more at Worlds. And when you've already got, as you say, like, now, just more circles to the Venn diagram, it works out incredibly well. Yeah, this is a very, very strong teamfight team for PSG Talon. The good news as well is pushing top. You've got good control over bot side as well, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for Audi to try and get into the face of PSG Talon. But on the opposite side for R7, I mean, you've got great skirmishing power if they can try and set those up in the early stages.
That's the big thing, and as well as that, like with the Talia and the Nautilus, fantastic ways of delaying engage, with great ways of stopping them from getting on top of your carries. So really is going to be how they're able to execute on that composition. But I will say for PSG, the great thing about all this engage is that even if they lose one player, they still have options.
Yeah, I think the big one for me coming into this is like, when I watched PSG Talon's games, they're incredibly good at, hey, we want to reset on time, we want to set up our mid waves and set up our waves states correctly for our objective setup and get in towards dragons. And with a composition like PSG are playing, you want to set up for flanks. You want Kennen to be coming in from one angle, Nico from another, Rakan coming in from another side. You want to make sure you've got multiple different angles of attack here, and I think that kind of plays in towards what has been the strength of PSG Talon. So for me, this is kind of R7 saying, hey, look, we want to try and disrupt that. We want to get in early, get some early skirmishes going, particularly if we can try and play around this Renekton topside for things like Rift Herald, and then look to try and set up something for ourselves where we're just coming into these fights with an early lead and preventing you from getting that vision that allows your composition to function.
Well, no expectations at the moment. 0-0 on the board. You don't really know who's going to pop off, who's going to make a moment of themselves. And it really does kind of come down to, doesn't matter about the rest of the season, it's all about now. You have to get a good start. PSG Talon versus Movistar R7. Game 1 of the League of Legends World Championship 2023 is about to begin.
You hear the cheers from the crowd there, excited to see R7 take the stage, but we're going to have to see if they can try and continue what has been, at least for them, the campaign started last year, or last MSI, to try and set themselves up with that first win. They're going to have to see now if they can do it again against PSG Talon. But PSG Talon, honestly, we were kind of talking before the game. If PSG Talon don't make it in towards groups, it feels like a failure for this team. They are so incredibly strong. Plus, even having guys like Corgi, the ex-EDG assistant coach, when they won Worlds, like, this is a team that is set up to take over the region, continue the legacy that PSG Talon have. And it's been amazing to see how they've kind of continued that legacy for.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I don't think it's unfair to say that PSG Talon have just been dominating in the PCS ever since they kind of became PSG Talon, and it has just kind of come down to how they want to try and, you know, progress, how they want to try and push for things as such like that to get beyond the play-in stage, and then even further from there. Of course, new format here in the play-in stage, new format in the Swiss as well, so in the group stage. So we'll see how far they can go. There's definitely an awful lot more up in the air. It's definitely not as clean cut as it used to be.
I mean, I'm excited to see just even how some of these new champions coming into this kind of work out. Like Kennen having the buffs that he got coming into this is, I think, going to be an incredibly strong matchup into the Renekton. This was always a bit of a skill matchup depending on how you positioned yourself in the lane. If the Renekton could try and close the gap, get onto the Kennen, you're in a good spot. But with the likes of the Summon Aerie, if you're just getting poked down, it's so difficult to try and manage. You can already see Bong losing a good bit of damage in this early laning phase, and the push should be in a good spot for Azzy.
A little bit of an engage down in the bot side, but no level 2 hit by the Nautilus makes this one a little bit harder. Aggressive move there from Seo. One of the big carries from MSI.
Yeah, I think Lynn's just missed out on one of the CS, so you can see a little bit behind on the level 2 spike. So even though he went in aggressive, didn't quite have the level that he's expecting to, so they couldn't quite go all in there. But you can still see push going in favor of Seo and Lines for the moment. But I do think as Wacko gets access to level 3, he'll be able to start getting control over this lane state, and that's where it'll become a little bit easier for Junja to try and look for maybe some control over this bottom side, like get into the face of Audi. But I imagine we're going to see a lot of pressure from Junja towards the lanes, and that's kind of where he's been a staple for PSG Talon.
Yeah, well, since it is the beginning of Worlds, don't forget to log in and watch on lolesports.com to earn exclusive Worlds 2023 drops like emotes and icons. Lots of free things. Everyone likes free things. I like free things.
Yeah, great. I mean, look, it's simple economics, isn't it?
I was going to make a joke about yesterday, but then I stopped myself. Free things.
You don't get to...
I wasn't even there. It's not even my region, but sometimes it's just fun.
You don't kick him out while he's down. That's just bad. But, you know, I think for a lot of these like drops and gifts and stuff like that, it's actually kind of sick. I'm a little bit sad that like I end up working these events a lot, so I end up missing out on them.
Yeah,
so it's just
right?
like, oh, can you just add it to my account?
I always message my flatmate and I'm like, hey, turn on PC, please. Thank you.
I would mess with my brother, but my PC isn't even there anymore.
That's right, yeah. You're home, but you're not home.
No. I'm home, but I'm in a hotel, which is a weird one to come back to Ireland for.
Yeah, well, obviously it's been a pretty quiet 4 minutes or so far at the start of this game, and honestly it's kind of what we expected to happen. PSG, they don't really have a huge amount of ways of kind of affecting the lanes unless the Jarvan comes in, and Junja just hasn't really had an opportunity, as all these lanes, except for bot lane, obviously have been pushing in. Yeah,
and I think that's what we're going to wait and see for a little bit. I think the real fight is going to start to kick off when this dragon starts to come up. Like, now that Wacko's hit level 3, we'll be able to shove out this wave, get his own reset in to match the reset from Sayo, and then they'll be in a decent spot to try and control the wave. Especially when you're looking at, hey, look, we've got so many ultimates to kick off at level 6. Rift Tower is going to be another big one for PSG Talon, but a lot of it's going to revolve around, hey, can we try and get multiple members up towards this top side? Because I think if you don't have, like, Woody on his way as well to try and help this one out, there's opportunities for Audi to try and play around Bong, like get a quick combo there to take out Ozzy, or, you know, a lot of setup that can come through from Miro as well. So it can make the team fights a little bit tough with just trying to play into what OR7 have in that 3v3 skirmish.
And the thing is, like, you know, it's been passive as such, but you can see the CS leads in the top lane, a little bit of CS lead as well in the mid and the bot. Just small little incremental advantages being kind of brought up here for PSG Talon. And Audi, unfortunately, he's sitting on a ward. They have full recognition and vision of what's going on here. He's not really going to find much else, but we are eking towards having a level 6 potentially. And ooh, Audi, they know you're there, and there's a Jarvan off to the side as well. They're going to try and fully engage onto this one here. The flick back does not land as the flash was used by Maple. Audi taking a lot of damage, still has his flash if he needs it. Good rocks being thrown here by the Talia, means that nothing else going to come out of it, but flash burnt by Maple.
Yeah, great bait though from PSG, right? They're like, hey, look, we know he's on a ward, we're going to try and make a play. And you can see on the opposite side, OR7 did have vision down to the Raptors, so they knew that Jarvan was probably going to be in this top side, but decided to go for the play anyway. Maple's flashed down, but you got a good amount of damage returned onto Audi.
And the level 6s are hit. This is where I'm starting to get a little bit more kind of ready, if you will. Anticipation is building as we know that these teams are going to go for it. And I love what R7 are doing, recognizing, hey, we just saw the Jarvan mid. We can be aggressive. We can start to push this up a little bit further and maybe get a bit more of a lane pushed in spot side. Yeah,
I think the downside for this is that, like, for the downside for PSG is that Leon's has a good amount of potential here against Woody that we might just see now. That's kind of the downside, is if you ever try to go forward as Rakan, so much that CC can be plonked in your direction can make it hard to go aggressive in this matchup. But at the moment, you're still going to be able to find there's a good amount of CS underneath this tower. They got Audi down on the spot side just to make sure they continue this push in. They even start up the Dragon here with the amount of control that OR7 have over the bot side. I'm watching to see exactly what Maple wants to try and do, because it wasn't even top.
So Sayo looked for the knock up, didn't land it, flash in, they get the root down, Wacko has to cleanse, there's a lot of damage coming down, first blood, oh, not quite, that Mystic shot was a hair away from setting up R7 in the bot side.
Yeah, I love the aggression though. They see that, hey, look, the knock-up is completely missed, and Miru knows it as well, so Audi going to finish off this Dragon, and now the Talia is on the way. Jarvan though, Junja waiting in the wings to try and turn this around.
I love this move from R7 as well. They built up the pressure bot side, had a ginormous wave, so there's no way it's coming from there, and not only that, but Junja dropped a ward on top side that immediately got him found out, so they knew where the Jarvan was. Great reactions from R7, get themselves the reward in the first Dragon.
Yeah, they do end up getting the advantages, obviously, with the cleanse being down, the flash for Woody being down and that, but, I mean, they burnt Leon's flash as well. Most of that was, the CS was picked up underneath the tower as well by PSG Talon, so it would have been nice if they could have got slightly more, but still, I love that we're getting this aggressiveness out of OR7 to try and find these little advantages.
Of course, it's just kind of how these teams are playing. Junja was spotted before he came down here. Did clear out a pink ward before, or a vision ward before he came down here. So they know he's roughly in this area, but are they willing to bet he's waiting?
No, I think it's a good job from Junja. Like, come down, escort the wave in for PSG, make sure there's no funny business from VOD. He actually stays close enough to the wave as well, where he pings level 6, which is kind of the big mark you want to hit just before you come in towards this Rift Herald fight that's going to be happening in about 10 minutes time, or 10 seconds time as well. So you know you help your own bot lane get the reset, and PSG can actually drag Woody up, as you can already see now, towards that Rift Herald, whereas they can keep Wacko safe and sound on this bot side as he's about to ping over to level 6.
Yep, gets himself the Feather Storm, so very hard to kind of lock him out down once more. Audi is level 6 as well, so should have the Heartbreaker. And I mean, look, all the pressure and all the great things that are happening for R7, they are paying the price. It is a push and pull game, and I'm gonna stop myself. They're waiting in the wings here. Does Maple walk towards it? That is the question. Woody is there as well. They're gonna get the stun down. No rule. He really needs to land that. A little bit of CC. That flick back just missing is gonna unfortunately mean we'll go on for first blood.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened with Leon's. I think he was trying to Hex Flash over the wall to follow up on it, and he failed the Hex Flash and hooked the wall, so there wasn't really the follow-up there that they needed. Junja had started up the Rift Herald, but I mean, at the moment, you still got a good amount of control here for R7 in the jungle. Yes, they used Audie's ultimate, which is a bit of a sucker punch, and they might just back away, but it looks like at the moment PSG aren't as confident to try and go for this. They want to get the reset onto Maple, who'll now have to come back into lane before they can really look for this.
Yeah, bot lane should be pushed in here by Wacko, and that should be kind of the real trade-off right now. Does still have TP here onto Miru, so should be able to kind of get down, clear this ward, and join up if he's needed around that Rift Herald.
Yeah, and that's why R7 get mid-prio off the back of Maple having to reset. Now they know, as you say, Miru can always join in, so they've got the numbers advantages. So I'd be surprised if PSG really want to try and contest this.
Oh, no, they get the root down, they get the knock-up as well. Level 6 hit, the Cataclysm comes in for Junja. He does get the knock-up at the back of it. There's a slightly Maelstrom, but it only really lands onto one, and now they can turn and burn for this fight. First blood finally goes over to Sayo. Nice knockback here from Miru as he gets on top of two. The Pop Blossom is decent, but there's no damage right now. The resets are coming in. Double kill for Sayo. R7 are doing well in the early game.
R7 are coming in hot to Worlds 2023. Miru TP's in. They get the fight, and PSG way too over-aggressive. They didn't have the numbers, they didn't have the setup, and everything rushed and everything goes awry.
Sayo doesn't have flash or heal, doesn't have his Arcane Shift either, and that's a shutdown there. Just not expecting the rat to be in the bush.
That's a big win for PSG though, because after you just had that fight go wrong, having Ozzy now pick up 2 kills off the back of this means this Ken is going to be kind of terrifying as this game starts to go on. At least they get something back, but still R7, massive play for them, and you get to see it here, right? You can see Miru catches that wave on bot side, and immediately Zaya starts to move up, but Leans is already engaged here. They get a massive knock up onto 2 people. You just don't really have the damage because Junja immediately has to get out of the equation. Odin manages to flash away from that engage, so the Kenanal not really doing as much work as he wants, and as he pointed out in the fight, massive flick back from Miru, gets the CC, gets the damage down, and sets up them for those resets on Odie as well.
Yeah, just skirting around the vision in that top side there, and Sayo sadly had already used his Arcane Shift in the early game. That is a hell of a cooldown there. I think it's like 20 plus seconds at the first few levels, so really unfortunate there. Look, it's a small win back for PSG, but R7, they're still going to be feeling pretty good there. You can see there the Massacre lane economy massively in favor of the kind of rest of the map apart from Bong, but in fairness, he knew he was playing weak side anyway.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's where you're kind of going, hey look, the extra gold onto Sayo is going to get him towards his Triforce, going to get him up towards his tier item as well, and you're going to be totally fine. I think Bong definitely does want to try and like stay at least even in this lane though, because when you're Renekton, you just become nothing if you start to fall behind. So Ozzy getting those 2 kills was actually pretty big for them. But unfortunately, as you said, like we were talking about, like Sayo giving over that kill in the early stages now means that Ozzy, a lot of these fights are going to rely on him. The Zaya just isn't going to be able to keep up with the damage the Sayo is going to be able to churn out as long as he's landed the Mystic shots. So this Kennen is going to be the menace that PSG talent need to work on.
And the big thing about that last fight as well is that we saw all the ultimates, but they were kind of like Cataclysm a couple of seconds later. Then it was the Slicey Maelstrom. Then a couple of seconds later. Then it was the Pop Blossom. It wasn't a big wombo combo. It was kind of one after the other. When you're able to get those all together, that's when you're going to see a huge amount of burst coming out from PSG. And R7 need to be very wary of that. But yeah, you can see by the total damage, it's pretty in favor of the Kennen right now because of just all the poke they're able to throw out.
Yeah, I know. That's why we kind of need to look at the flashes as we start to come in towards a lot of these fights, right? And specifically on towards Miru and R7, he's the flash you need to worry about. Seo will be fine. He's got his own arcane shift to be able to get out of there. Bong has got his way to slice and dice his way out of a lot of that damage, but if it's Miru getting caught, he's just going to get completely wiped out. And if you then have that follow-up coming through from PSG Talon, it very quickly starts to snowball out of control. So that's where PSG, as you say, they need to kind of play patient and actually start to set up themselves up correctly. And unfortunately, that has been the biggest problem with PSG Talon, is just that impatience coming back to bite them at times.
Yeah, we saw that R7 tried to overload the top side there, but really not in a position there. I think that Asi was just very, very smart of how he played it, because cool, all my team's bot side, we're taking Dragon. I do not need to be aggressive right now. Backs himself away, and it doesn't really lead to anything. You will still have the Rift Herald to be used, but where you use it's going to be key here now for R7.
Yeah, I imagine that this is probably going to go down in towards this bot side, like just try and snowball Seo even more. There is an argument as well to try and get on towards Miru, but I think you're so vulnerable if you're trying to overextend in mid lane versus Maple and Junja, which is the 1-2 combo that they have. It'd be so risky, but maybe, just maybe they're looking to go first.
I'm going to try and pop it into Miru, but again, this is just kind of priority in the top side now. Maple making sure that this does not have a clean push, and that's going to be all plates going over to the
jungler.
The jungler. Not the worst thing in the world with a Viego being a carry, but definitely would have preferred it to go onto the Talia, especially right now, to get that first item.
And that's what I was kind of saying, like, they didn't have vision on Junja, so it's so scary to try and push up that far, especially with Woody even out of the equation as well. He wasn't showing on bot lane, so they completely back away and don't get as much as they'd like to. But yeah, Viego getting it is nice, but you definitely need to get Miru into a position. Like, you can see one of the few people that doesn't have a mythic item picked up for him when it comes towards the damage dealers. So he'll be able to reset and more than likely pick up his Leandra's Anguish, but still this is giving PSG the opportunity to get the deep vision down, try and spot out how they want to attack, and it looks like it might be Miru who's the target of that.
Yeah, Miro just wants to try and clean up a bit of these waves. I do think they have enough in their inventory just to be able to get that last little bit of gold towards their item. Maple is going to stop them off. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I felt like that dummy stayed there a very long time, like a lot longer than it normally does. But, I mean, double Triforce on the side of R7. They have got a pretty decent one, but yeah, you can see... Yeah, that lane economy is starting to get bigger and bigger for PSG in that top side, and it's becoming a bit of an issue because, again, like you said, it doesn't become about the laning phase anymore. It becomes about those team fights. Audi is going to get jumped on here. Will not have a huge amount of damage thrown onto him just yet. They've invested 2 ultimates. There's going to be Minoru coming back on top of this one here, though. Junja immediately flashing after the fact to try and make sure he stays alive, but he does get taken out. Woody can't get the root down. TP's coming in. That's going to be the Kennen trying to or Maple, excuse me, coming in afterwards. Minoru cannot just be walked over this. Audi gets a reset. Will not get the flick back, and they will trade back 1 for 1. So it's a little bit of a scrappy one there for PSG. They thought they found someone.
Yeah, they've tried to get the pick, but just not enough damage, and a good wall coming through from Miru as well, because you've already got that ultimate there for Odie to get himself back out of the harm's way, but because Junja had already used the flag and drag, wasn't able to follow across, same with Woody, so they end up overcommitting then for the pick, and at least R7 are able to get something back as Wacko answers in return.
It was a 4v4 bot side, but actually in the top lane it was a little bit of a 1v1. We saw both ultimates used. We actually see the flash from Bong used as well. But let's have a look at this one here, because Audi, they have full information on him, and that's why they feel comfortable to go in and try and get him out off by surprise.
Yeah, and you can see, like, yes, they get a ton of CC down, but the damage just isn't quite there. So Audi's able to flash over the wall. And, like, I thought it was a little bit of a dangerous wall coming through there, but actually worked out. Miru gets the kill, but unfortunately to try and do so, he ends up way overextending. Good knock up then from Woody as well to just find that speed for Wacko, and with the W popped, Zayag ends up getting the movement speed towards her target, so she's able to just chase that one down.
Okay, so absolute soldier.
Yeah, so interrupts the TP coming in, and that's why he lost a lot of his health, lost his flash, and now he's lost his life.
That's very unfortunate. He was trying to be an absolute bro. Does have the slice, does have the dice, and he's able to get himself out there. Bong, despite the pressure being thrown onto him, is holding his own on that top side and doing what he needs to do for his team, keeping the Kennen away.
Yeah, Bong doesn't crack under the pressure, able to move back, get out of the position, and now R7 trying to set themselves up as well in this mid lane. Wacko needs to be so careful.
Yeah, needs to be very, very careful. That mid lane going down could be huge. There's a pop blossom.
Oh my God.
3. The flash is good, but can they get the damage afterwards? They do get Seo. The bomb comes in straight afterwards. A slice and dice will get him back over the wall. But I mean, just as Dragon's about to spawn as well, Rift Herald on this field as well. PSG should be able to get so much with this.
Yeah, great pick from PSG. Immediately moving over towards the Rift Herald. with 40 seconds on towards Dragon, they can even get the reset, use this Rift Tower then in mid lane to get pressure and commit towards that Dragon as well. So really great timing there. Again, this is why you got to be so careful and trying to contest on that mid wave. PSG have so many different angles of attack, and they catch out Sayo. They're such an important member for that.
Look, it is only a 1 kill, but you do get the tower. You do end up trading it, though, for a Rift Herald, tower in top lane, pressure around this Dragon in 20 seconds as well. Audie's nowhere near it, so the junglers are actually going to find each other saying, so sorry, didn't mean to be here. And it's a little bit of a 2v2 for the moment, but I mean, it's a Jarvan. There's not really many situations he's going to be able to knock it out of.
Yeah, the thing is, though, they've now committed several members in R7 to this top side. You're going to only delay time until this Dragon comes up. You'll have PSG who are going to be in a position to try and follow up on that. They're basically, PSG Talon are trying to delay the opportunity for R7 to go towards this because they'd love the TP to be out for Aussie. Probably won't be, as R7 kind of realize that. It looks like they're going to immediately move over towards that objective, but you're still getting good reset timers here for PSG. And now they can start to try and contest this as Ozzy, with push on top, is moving down.
Yeah, Audie might have to use his own ultimate there. Not quite sure what happened there with the hook, but he misses it completely. The pop blossom on the 2, no jungler now available. Flick back is decent on the Junja, but there's just not the damage right now from the Celia. Lion's just gonna get taken out, and this is starting to change the momentum of the game. R7 had a good start, and now they're starting to fall apart. PSG just picking them away bit by bit.
Yeah, I think when you're looking towards this, R7 just need to take it slow. Like, see if they can get some poke with Sayo, get some poke with Miru, like, get the vision down so you're not running in towards Maple every single time. But even with the flash down, Maple's able to make it happen. Now you get, well, they haven't moved over towards Dragon, but you'll have to get this mid lane tower at the moment. And R7, oh, well, maybe not. R7 able to delay this. A lot of PSG kind of scattering to the 4 corners, so not committing enough for the mid lane tower just yet. But nervy.
Charles the Cannon Minion couldn't do it for PSG, unfortunately. But yeah, let's have a look at this fight all the way back to this mid lane, because they really overcommit for this tower.
Yeah, I mean, you've already got Flash there as well, coming through for Sayo. So he should never really be getting caught there. He probably had the Arcane Shift as well, but just not reacting in time. And then this as well, again, like, just overextension. Like, what is Leon's going to be able to do here with Audie? Like, Miru, yes, can try and come in, but actually just ends up cornering off his own teammates in that situation. And Sayo's got to play super far back here because he's worried about, you know, the Kennen coming in, Maple being in position. That's why, again, we're kind of saying, hey, look, you need to be able to set yourselves up early as R7 on these positions, like, control the choke points so PSG Talon can't just run in on top of you, but they just haven't really set themselves up for success in that regard.
And the thing is that, yes, we are seeing a trade of sides right now. PSG getting the Dragon, top lane being pressured in, but it's always PSG coming out on top. They're now getting bot lane pressure. They got the mid lane. They're getting so much more bang for their buck that it just feels like R7 are just constantly behind. Like, it's going to take it probably, and maybe even another wave. It might just about get lucky, but I think, yeah, the Kennen's going to feel fine and walk up to this.
Yeah, I mean, probably won't commit much to try and keep it off, so eventually Miru will be able to get this, but as you say, you trade mid, Dragon, and bot side tower here. Just be very careful as Bong, because you do have at least Jarvan hovering over the side, but Leon's and Audie are waiting in the wings as well, so we'll just back away.
Oh, interruption. That's there's still a flash and a cataclysm for Junja, but I think he's just, oh, the nice little bit of movement. Had himself the Gore Drinker for extra healing, but gets taken down, heartbroken, and this is where you're going to try and thrive as R7. Get those small pickoffs and build.
I keep thinking one team has an advantage, and immediately it's like, nope,
the ultimate caster curse.
Yeah, I mean, look at the gold, right? Like, 600 gold between the two teams, nothing whatsoever. I mean, a huge amount of this still is going to be on the Kennen in the top side, that like big gold difference, but like, Sayo doing good damage. Audie as well, you can see how much damage he could do to Junja alongside Lions. So, like, there is a lot on R7 that can still be brought back here against PSG. So, you can't just, like, wander into the bot side. You don't really have the opportunity, the vision to spot it exactly what the response is from R7.
Absolutely, and I think the big thing for R7 getting that pick as well is that, and it's not just about getting the gold, which is nice, obviously, but it's also getting the flash, because Junja is going to be the big main engage and everyone else follows up with it. But great hook here from Lions. Yeah,
I think it was kind of just greedy from Junja, to be perfectly honest. Like, all you had to do was walk into the Dragon Pit, flag and drag over the wall, and you're out fine, right? Like, walking that way through all that vision is just going to cause you issues, especially when it hasn't been fully cleared out. So, nice job from Lens to get that set up. And I think at this stage then, you got to try and go, hey, look, PSG, just take it slow. Just make sure that you're setting up properly. You already have seen that they can get a ton of picks when they're given the opportunity. They're playing well around their vision. But the problem is that now with that pick as well on Junja, not only the flash is gone, but a lot of that control you had in River is gone. You can see like all that bot side vision has been cleared out. They're starting to get control over this Baron area as well. And that's where it now becomes a little bit more difficult for PSG to find these flank routes for their squad to get on towards R7.
I'm looking at two massive items that are being completed there. Void Staff for Miru, who's going to try and make use of it right now. The Pop Blossom just a delay play. Double up in that one there. Doesn't get the flick back on top of that one. Good flash away from Miru and by Bong. They're looking for an engage in the mid lane though, as we see Junja and the rest of the team looking for more. They get the knock up here and the charm coming out from the Rakan. A shutdown comes out. Bong finally gets himself a little bit more redemption as he look for a little bit more in this mid lane. Seu and Audi just can't do the damage. It's a 2 for 1 in the mid lane. Overall, a 2 for 2.
2 for 2. Seu still trying to see if he can get more. Maple as well. Still not out of the woods just yet. Seu, he's feeling it, but I don't think he can really chase up. The second the arcane shifts forward, Woody will go from has the flash, so maybe he's looking for the outplay, but Mystic Shot's just not quite landing.
Seu is really starting to build up some confidence right now. Not many people will walk that aggressively in front of a Xayah and Rakan, and you can see there, Wacko gets delayed as well, so that's a lot of damage in that tier 2, but let's have a look at the bot lane first.
Yeah, Bong stepping under the tower, Miru comes in, and I like that they don't actually engage on this, right? So Maple trying to lock them up underneath the tower. The flick misses, stun, handled Ozzy there. But then, yeah, it must have just, very overextension for Drinker, the Q, a lot of opportunity to try and bring that one back. And Maple, you're kind of like a one-hit wonder in that bot side. Once you've used that combo, there's not much else in the tank.
Yeah, and then we saw, again, kind of fights on 2 fronts then, and all of a sudden a great hook to start it all off. And then it becomes so scrappy with everything being used.
Yeah, everyone on R7 flashing away from the pullback from Wacko meant there wasn't really that big damage follow-up initially, and you're kind of waiting on that to restart. Audi went in here thinking he could maybe get the reset, but just didn't quite have enough health bar left. And it meant that then it ended up being the 2 kills going across in the mid lane to answer for the bot lane.
I mean, Dagda, 23.5 minutes, 8-7. It is a 300 gold lead for ours. I mean, that goal graph tells it all there. It just really does. Like, it's been so close.
The goal difference over time powered by AWS says everything there. Like, the fact that you're getting that much of a back and forth roller coaster on this game tells a lot. But you have to look now at Bong. Being careful in that bot lane, realize that there might be some people trying to sneak in behind him, so he's going to back away.
I'm going to give like massive props to Bong right now. He was 30 CS down, and now he's nearly a full level up. Like, that's insane to think about what he's doing, because he's just done his job absolutely correctly and hasn't died.
I think a huge portion of that, though, is that, like, PSG are trying to drag Ozzy into these fights because they realize, hey, look, realistically, this Kennen is our big damage dealer. We kind of need him to be at the forefront, but it's not really working out for him particularly well. Like, every time they try and drag him down, the fights have been a bit separated, so they're not quite able to get him into position to try and carry. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of his build. Like, adding the Morellonomicon in here is kind of nice against some of the healing from the Renekton, but I think a little bit overkill, especially when you're like, hey, look, I need to be the one that kind of steps up in these scenarios to be a big damage dealer. Like, I don't think the Morello offers you enough in that scenario.
Let's just see what they want to go for, and we are at a point now where you can burn down this Baron so quickly here as R7. They say, cool, you're going to take the dragon, that's fine, go for it. There's plenty of visions, or ways of getting vision right now. Right between the sticks here does go the True Shot Barrage, and everyone just kind of hovering in. We're starting to feel like we're one big fight from a really big moment in this game.
I like what R7 are trying to do, though. They're trying to play in towards their vision, say, hey, PSG talent, you have to come through these choke points, which is where our composition is stronger, whereas PSG are trying to drag them into their own vision so they can have flanks and try and catch them out of multiple different angles. So at the moment, you can see both teams kind of in that stalemate and nobody really wanting to come in.
Don't know why he's there, but he's getting all the damage. He got the root as well. They walk straight into the feathers, and that's all they needed to do. Now you can see a fight on 2 fronts. They are getting damage down. Bong still keeping himself alive. Nicely done with the Pop Blossom, though. And that's a clean enough fight for the side of PSG. They lose 1, they get 4, and they can just barrel down the mid. They've got a huge minion wave.
I mean, Wacko went God mode in that one. Immediately picks off Audi, sets up PSG, and yeah, the wave is there. The base is going to be absolutely left in tatters. I mean, 15 seconds, 6 seconds until Sale's up. Like, they could just go for the end.
They might think about it. It is only game 1 of this best of 3. Looks like they're just going to back away afterwards. They've got the Hex Gates. Everyone just walking away from this one here. And they're going to churn and burn for the big purple worm.
Yeah, immediately going to move over towards that one. Now, you have TP for Mirror, TP for Bong as well, so this could actually be a little bit risky, especially with Hex Tech Gates on the Rift as well. R7 trying to move in to contest Maple.
Has got himself a... it's a fake one. Fake dust out as well. They have vision on this, so they know what's going down. Audi's got ultimate and flash. You can get down to top of it. True Shot Barrage lands on the Woody. They're putting them in. It's fish in a barrel. He goes get the Baron, but can they get out with it? Flash out immediately. Bong can't get into the fight right now. They're trying to get the stones in, but they just can't get the damage out. It was just a little bit too discoordinated from R7. You can see the idea. They just couldn't bring it together. Yeah, they were just a couple of seconds behind and not quite able to get into the pit, but we get a replay here. R7 walking in completely blind. I think PSG have walked away, but Wacko, great setup there. The CC sets up beautifully for Woody then to come in over the wall. Ozzy gets the answer on towards the backline because he's got a direct route.
and it means now R7 going to move over towards the Dragon. They'll get it, but what else would they get?
What else can they get? Junja tried to do a little bit of a drive-by, does get the Cataclysm out. Seo just going to get himself away from this one here. Stopwatch used by Junja means he won't get any more damage done onto him, and R7 are kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They need to get themselves out. Audi doesn't have flash and ultimate because he used it last time. He will be sacrificed, and now Woody tries to go for a little bit more. Seo, no flash, but does have the arcane shift. They're just poking them out right now, and everyone backs themselves away. Good for R7 to get the Dragon, but I mean, you still have a Baron to contest with.
The problem was that they went for resets on R7. Miro went back to base, so they weren't able to immediately burn down the Dragon as PSG were resetting after Baron. So PSG come back out, they get the kill. They're now going to get bot tower off of this, and they're going to get this bot inhibitor as well. You just don't have the people you need to defend this, especially with midwave now there as well.
Yeah, you have to be so careful here as Seo. He just needs to make sure he's not getting caught out. Junja has got a flash to go for a flash, flag, and drag if he really wanted to, and that's going to be another inhibitor turret exposed. Do they get the second inhibitor? That's the question. I mean, Wako has been fantastic with these routes as well. You can't even walk forward because he just always has 6 or 7 feathers dotted around the place.
Yeah, and look, with that, as soon as Azzy shows up, they're like, cool, we're going to be totally fine to take this. Can't really do particularly much.
Oh, feathers do go flying. Wako does get hit by the ultimate, but I mean, they're turning it all back on the Lions, who is ignited, getting taken so low. Is he? Yes, tick down Woody, finishing that one off in a little bit of supportal combat. And I mean, it's so difficult now to get this damage to stick, and they've got minions, they've got Baron, they might look for the end. They're going to go in, Cataclysm goes in straight away. There's the Pop Blossom down on the 2. They're just using these ultimates to try and stop everyone from dying, and Wako just feeling untouched, unfavorable in this fight is he, but PSG are going to be getting themselves the first win of Worlds 2023.
They had in the KDA, they'll take down the Nexus, and PSG, you can see, smiles, but mostly relief, I think, in that one.
A little bit.
Not as clean as they would have hoped for, but they still managed to pick up the win.
Absolutely. Look, I think it's definitely kind of kudos to PSG. They were thrown a lot in that early game. It definitely felt like R7 came in with a game plan. And thankfully for PSG fans, they were able to kind of bring that back, kind of deal with the adjustments, get themselves into a much better position. And then once they found themselves in those big team fights, like we mentioned with the kind of Venn diagram of death, they found themselves having an awful lot more kind of ease in these team fights.
Yeah, I think R7, we kind of talked about it, they need to find success in skirmishes. Like the second you start moving in towards, hey, we're going to have multiple people all in and around the same area, that's when it gets dangerous. And they kind of found that success in the early points, but they just never really were able to follow it through, with Seo getting caught in the mid lane as they overextend for the mid lane tower. Then they end up with like Audi getting caught at times as well. It just ended up kind of falling apart for them as the game went on.
Yeah, and look, for R7, I'm pleasantly surprised, to be perfectly honest. Yes, it's a bittersweet kind of feeling, but did decently well. They obviously had an opportunity to try